Hello everyone! So my name is Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I wanted to do the makeup book tag by Katytastic. I added a few categories to the book tag because there are just some products that I use on a daily basis and also some products that I'm not willing to live without. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna do my makeup in front of you so I don't have any makeup on now while I chat about books. I have everything written down. I don't know if you've noticed, it is a theme. I just need everything written down. I can't do it if it's not written down. Like, I can't plan things. I'm just one of those people who need things written down. So I'm going to start with the tag. So the first category was primer, and so this is a book that left a long-lasting impression on you. I'm going to tell you also the names of the makeup products just in case you care about that. So I'm using the Bare Minerals Prime Time Original Foundation Primer. I actually don't use primer that often just because I'm normally doing makeup for like a Bookstagram or YouTube, so it just doesn't really matter to me how long it lasts. So like staying power isn't really a thing I care about, but I mean primers are really good for smoothing your skin tone down. So anyway, so I want to talk about a book that left a long-lasting impression on me. And so the book I want to talk to you about is The Reader by Tracy G. I don't think I will ever get over this series. I don't know if, I think people will get tired of me talking about how much I love this series, but basically it's a series all about the transformative and magical power of reading. So it's set in a society where there isn't really reading, and so the ability to read is something that has a lot of power, and it is a fantasy series. So like the power of reading is also magical in that sense. I mean, people don't know how to read, so there are some people who can read and use that power for magical purposes, but then also people just don't know how to read. And so this series is just, it has my entire heart, but it's also just so much about how important it is to have memories and to have kinds of stories about yourself, right? So because there was no reading, everyone just had to tell oral stories. So much of this, so many of the characters are thinking about like, how am I supposed to make my mark on society, because all I really have are these stories that people are telling, right? There's no concept of something that happens that will outlive you because, for example, it's in a book or because it's written down somewhere. It's only sort of things that people say. So that's one of the thematic elements I love about this book. But I mean, it's multiple perspective, and I just love every single one of these characters. And it's a trilogy, so it goes over kind of like all of these overarching themes and events and everything, and it just gets so much more complex about revenge and about love and about destiny. So like the whole thing just is so fantastic, and I don't really know how else to explain how much I love that series. So the next category is foundation, and the little description for this one is favorite first book in a series. This category was really hard for me to pick because I love a bunch of series, but I had to go with one of my OG favorites, which is The Bone Witch. But I'm just gonna apply the foundation first. So I'm using the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Stick. This is just something I like to use. I don't use foundation on like the entire parts of my face. I'm only really using it on like the bits in the center of my face, and I'm kind of leaving the outside parts of it for not with foundation, essentially, because I used to wear foundation all over my face and it's just not necessary really for me, so that's what I'm doing. And I'll hold up The Bone Witch. I love this series so much, but by the time I really fell in love with it and realized I wanted to have a physical copy of it, the hardcover first edition just stopped printing. Like, there was just none around, so I was able to find mine on eBay essentially. But that's why the front is so well loved. Everything else about the book is fine, and I also took some notes when I was rereading this for a readathon I did. but that's why the front is a little bit well loved. It's had many homes before me, but I needed it for my shelf, and I would like them to reprint them. I don't really know. I don't have anyone. If anyone's watching from source books, please reprint them, because I would buy another copy, because I love this series so much. So why was this one the one I picked first? So overall, I think the Bone Witch trilogy is such a fantastic trilogy, and there was so much for me to choose from as far as like, oh, do I want to pick, you know, what category do I want to pick for this? But I think for me, when I read the Bone Witch, I remember just being so impressed by A, Rin Chupeco's writing, but also B, the character of T. But just in the fact that T is a character at the time that I was reading, which was so unlike any character I had ever encountered before. T is fiercely ambitious and also like misunderstood. So T is a bone witch, and even though bone witches are super essential for society, the rest of the world kind of looks down upon them, and they think that they're kind of, you know, nefarious and they can't be controlled, you know. And so this balance between being so necessary and people needing them, but also kind of looking down upon them and taking advantage of the physical tolls necessary to be a bone witch, it just really resonated, and it hit such a chord. And also, as I said, T is a character I'd never encountered before in YA books, and T's character only grows and evolves as the series goes on, and there are just so many beautiful writing touches in this. You have like a bard who is documenting what is happening to T, and you have this manipulation of time points of like looking back on what T has done with kind of a perspective of hindsight, but also realizing that it's so important about what side of the story is being told. And I don't know, the series is just also one that is so close to my heart, and it just gets better and better. But this is such a great taster, and I think as soon as I read this, I knew that I immediately wanted more. The next category is concealer, and this was a really hard category for me because the prompt for this one is a character you could get rid of, and for the most part I feel like I'm reading characters that I really like. So thinking about a character I could get rid of was kind of like, okay, what kind of character would I want to get rid of, and who would that be? And so I was thinking more of kind of characters that I was frustrated with. And so once I started thinking about characters I was frustrated with, I immediately started thinking about some of the characters from Little Fires Everywhere, which is also another of my kind of all-time favorite books. Little Fires Everywhere. I got this one. Is this the one I have signed? Yeah, this is the one I have signed because I actually went to the book launch for Little Fires Everywhere. I'd read an arc of Little Fires Everywhere and ended up loving it so much that I made sure to go to this book event. And actually I made some fantastic kind of like lifelong friends at this book event, which is so cool. But also there are some side characters in this that you just really don't like sometimes. And I think that what Celeste Ng does so well is portrays those characters in a human light. So for example, characters that we don't like or that we don't necessarily understand, we're never like, oh, this character is flat out evil and I don't get it. There are definitely points where you may think, oh, I don't really like what they're doing, I don't understand what they're doing, but also at the same time some parts of it are relatable to me. So that's kind of how I felt with Little Fires Everywhere, and I don't want to tell you like why specifically because some of it is kind of spoiler territory about why and which characters. But if you've read the book, definitely let me know in the comments below who you would get rid of in this book, because I'm interested to see if who you would get rid of is the same person who I would get rid of. Maybe. Just because in general also I feel like characters are there for a reason, and oftentimes I don't really feel like you can get rid of that many characters because each of them is there for a reason. So that question was just really hard for me. And by the way, the concealer I'm using is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I just used 2 different shades. These products I picked are kind of like all my favorite products. So if I'm mentioning them, it's because I really love them. And the next category is powder. I assumed this meant face powder, and I just realized I didn't bring a brush over here, but I'm using the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil in Hydrating, just because I have pretty dry skin. So for the Mineral Veil, what I'm really using this for is to set the concealer and also just on the T-zone area. I'm not using really like an all over face powder, but if I was, I'd probably be using the Coty Airspun. But just for kind of like what I'm doing today, I decided to use this, and because my under eyes are so dry, I normally use the Mineral Veil anyway on my under eyes, and then the Coty Airspun on my T-zone. But if I had to pick one, I definitely would pick this one, which is why it's here. So for the powder category, the prompt was favorite last book in a series. So I don't think many of you will be happy with me that I picked this, but I picked The Storyteller, which is the last book in the Reader trilogy. I guess it's kind of cheating because I picked 2 from the same trilogy, but this book made me cry. I was reading the whole, I would say the whole last quarter, and it was just constant tears. It's one of these series, as I said before, where it has such fantastic growth overall that all of these threads were coming together, and it just made me so emotional. And I had read kind of all of these at different stages in my life, you know, as the series came out, and it was just so emotional. And sometimes I don't really cry for kind of series enders, but this one I cried a lot, and I think I even cried the second time I reread the series as well. So all the tears for this one, and I just definitely wanted to mention it because if you don't, you know, if you were on the fence about the Reader trilogy before, please just read this book and read the series. I don't want to name names, but I'm looking at a few of my close friends who have loved this trilogy and have not finished it. And if that's you, please read this. It's fantastic. So the next category is eyebrows, and this was a book that left you shook. I actually don't have a copy of this book, unfortunately, but the book I wanted to mention was Mexican Gothic by, hold on, what is Mexican Gothic's author? Silvia Moreno Garcia. I have a different book by that author on my shelf, so I just looked at that one. I buddy read Mexican Gothic with a few people, and I think we were all just so shook at like all of the different plot twists and the horror atmosphere. I don't read a lot of horror, but Mexican Gothic has to be by far my favorite, like, of all time. It is so fantastic. It's one of those books where it gave me literal tingles, like literal shivers. I was reading it and I was like, oh. And it was in revulsion and a little bit of disgust, but also kind of fear. I was just like, ugh, I can feel the things happening on my skin, and it was just like so uncomfortable and so terrifying. So if you're searching for a book that gives you that feeling, you definitely have to do that. I'm so happy that it won this year's 2020 Goodreads Choice Awards for Best Horror, because it totally deserved it. In general, I'm pretty displeased with how the Goodreads Choice Awards went, but that one was like, yes, this is so perfect. By the way, I'm using the IT Cosmetics Brow Power. It's kind of the only brow product I use. So I have a bunch of little minis that I buy throughout the years for sales. But anyway, I'm so happy that Mexican Gothic won, and it just reaffirms my love of the book. So the next category I actually added because it wasn't in there, but it was eyeshadow primer. By the way, I'm using the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I need eyeshadow primer to use like any eyeshadow product, period, even liquid liner. So the fact that it wasn't there, I was kind of like, I need it, so I'll just add it. Add the category. So I'm gonna add the category, and I had to think of a prompt for this category. So the prompt that I thought of was a nostalgic fave, right? So like something that left a mark on you, but has some sort of nostalgic story or memory attached to it, essentially. So the book I wanted to choose for this was actually Girls of Paper and Fire. So I read an arc of Girls of Paper and Fire before it came out, and I loved it. I want to say loved it, but I love it, right? So present tense, I love this book. And I was so happy to read this book because it has such beautiful, like charming and also strong and intelligent characters in it who are really fighting for something that they believe in and fighting for their rights, for existence and also for happiness. So this is a nostalgic favorite for me, but also I've met Natasha a few different times now, and Natasha is just such a lovely, sweet person, and I wish nothing but the best for her. And I've had all of my books signed by Natasha, so it's just so nostalgically favorite for me that I just have to include it, and also for this category in general. So the next category is eyeshadow, and for my eyeshadow today, I'm going to be using this cute well, actually, I don't think this is the name of the palette. No, the palette is called Yes Please by ColourPop. The lighting is like super exposed, but it just says cute AF, but actually that's not the name of the palette. But anyway, it's these kinds of warm toned shades. They're kind of the shades that I just love in general. So I'm going to do a look with some yellow and some, let's do some like burnt orange and a little bit of shimmer on top of the yellow, I think. So the category or the prompt for eyeshadow was a book cover with your favorite colors on it. This was really hard for me because I have a lot of different colors I'm drawn to, but then I had to think about what color do I consistently go back to, and that has to be reds and golds. Like those are certainly my favorites. So I'm gonna show you the book, and then I gotta continue doing my eyeshadow, so I'll just explain to you why it's a favorite book of mine. The book is Nocturna. Oh, my palette is closed. The book is Nocturna, and first off, the cover is just gorgeous. I love how intricate it is. It's also like a soft matte, and the gold is just like so glimmery. I don't know if you can kind of tell, but it's one of my favorite covers ever just because of how gorgeous it is. And it also has like a map end paper, and the spine has these beautiful designs on it. So in general, it's just a beautiful book. And so these definitely have my favorite colors on them. We do this warm reds and this kind of burnt orange and this gold, like all of them. Maybe I'll just leave it up here while I do my eyeshadow. That's what I'll do. Sorry, I know that theoretically I could be taller, but I'm just not a taller person. But I picked Nocturna as well because I wanted to find a book that I really, really loved. And so what I loved about Nocturna was the magic system was like just gorgeously described. It's also such an under-hyped series considering how much I love it and how much it talks about like colonialism and the use of magic and magic systems that fall into colonialism. It's just so underloved, and the sequel was supposed to come out I think this year, but it was kind of pushed back because of COVID. But I'm so excited for the sequel, and the sequel is blue. The cover, I think the sequel is called Occulta, and that's blue, and it is beautiful looking. Like, I cannot wait to have them both on my shelf. I think it's interesting because a subscription box had featured Nocturna, and I can't remember which subscription box it is, so please excuse that. But their edition of Nocturna was blue, and so it's going to be really interesting if they feature the sequel because that one is blue, so maybe they'll make that one red. Or that's what I would do, but like who even knows. I love it so much. It also has these really great characters in it. It's kind of has an assassin slash, I wouldn't say an assassin, more of like a thief-ish character, and then kind of a prince, and then together they end up unleashing this magic onto the world in a way neither of them really expected. So I really love that book. I think I'm gonna just try to deepen up that burnt orange color and then call it a day. I wanted to do a look that was really, really simple, but versatile. Do you think I should just wear yellow in all of these videos? I was thinking about it. I have a bunch of different yellow, so I could make it work. And also yellow just makes me so happy, and then when I'm editing the video I just feel happier. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Just kind of a nice, quick and easy look. So the next category is eyeliner. I'm gonna be using the Sephora Collection Eyeliner in black. And the prompt for this one was book with a dark and mysterious atmosphere, or dark and mysterious book. I kind of interpreted that as book as the dark and mysterious atmosphere. And for this one, I wanted to pick one that was a YA historical fiction book. I don't really feel like I read enough of those books. I just feel like they're super underrepresented, and they're one of my favorite genres in general. I would say even like in adult fiction I really love historical fiction. So I gotta let this dry. And the book that I wanted to pick was The Silence of Bones. So this is an arc of the book. I don't have the finished copy, but I was lucky enough to be able to get an arc of this. And I marked all of my little favorite passages and favorite quotes. But what I really loved about this one was how strong the characters and the atmosphere of it are. You can kind of tell from the cover that it's maybe not what you might expect from a historical fiction cover, but it's very much a mystery and very much a question of kind of whodunit. And also, there are just so many different layers of intrigue, and you're really not sure what's going to happen. And so for that, when I thought of dark and mysterious, I immediately thought of Sounds of the Bones. It's not dark in the sense like a dark fantasy, but it's dark in the sense like the cover gave me that vibe from the beginning, so I was expecting something mysterious and thriller-esque. And this is definitely mysterious. I don't know if it's thriller-esque in the same sense that, for example, Wild Girls might be, but it's definitely a thrilling mystery. So I'm just gonna quickly do my wing liner. Which certainly leaves much to be desired, but I'm doing this while I'm talking and while I'm trying to do this like as time efficiently as possible. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. The next category is mascara. And so for this category, you were supposed to pick a long book. And I was trying to think about what's like the longest book that I own. And I know that Priory of the Orange Tree is really, really long, but I actually haven't read it. So I didn't want to pick something that I hadn't read and couldn't recommend. So then I was thinking, what other really long books do I have? And then I thought, oh, The Burning God is really long. Maybe I can use that book. But when I was looking it up on Goodreads, I actually saw that I think The Dragon Republic is longer than The Burning God, which I didn't really realize. And this might just be like Goodreads showing it to me. But I don't have a copy of The Burning God because I've been collecting the US editions. And for some reason, my pre-order of the US edition didn't come, so I did ship it to my parents' house instead. And I don't really know when I'm going to be able to go pick it up. Because, you know, it's a pandemic. So I wouldn't normally even wear mascara with eyeliner, but for the sake of this tag, this is the Lorac Royal Treatment Primer and Mascara Duo. I love it because it has a primer as well, which I definitely need with my super sparse eyelashes. But today I only just did one coat of just the mascara side because, like, I'm not going anywhere. So this is the book, The Dragon Republic. I actually think that I saw on Goodreads that this is like 658 pages, and I think The Burning God is 640 or something like that. So I don't actually know if it's either the same or Burning God is longer. But I definitely had to include The Dragon Republic. I love the Poppy War series so much. I'm so happy that more people are being able to read this amazing series. And this one is certainly a chunky one, you know? I actually read these in ARC form, so I didn't actually have to like carry this around when I was reading it. I don't really collect ARCs, but I do collect them for The Reader, which is the complete series, and for the Poppy War, which is also complete. I was able to get a copy of the Burning God arc. So those, I'm happily the only two series I really collect arcs for I already have. I heard that some people found this kind of hit and miss because it has multiple perspectives, but I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge fan of the author. I'm a huge fan of the Poppy War series. I'm just a huge fan, and so this was like a no-brainer love. I think I gave all of these books like 5 stars. They're just so well written. The characters are so complex, and the historical implications and the historical kind of lens that is brought to this series is just so nuanced. And if you want to know kind of what I'm talking about, Read by Tiffany did a fantastic post about everything you need to know about the historical context of these books. So I will definitely link that below. The next category is blush. And so this was a cringe-worthy romance. So I had a really hard time with this category in general because I feel like for me, I either really, really like the romance, or for me, it's also kind of like, okay, I could have done without the romance. But I wouldn't say that that means it's necessarily cringe-worthy, you know? Like, I think that that means that I didn't need it, but yeah, I don't think it means that it was cringe-worthy. So I had a really hard time finding the pick for this book. And so I think what I ended up doing for this book is I picked a book where the romance just was really hard for me to kind of like get behind. By the way, I'm using this for the mirror and for the blush, this Becca palette, Blushed with Light, but I'm using the Blushed Songbird. And so for the book I picked for this one, I picked Super Fake Love Song. I did enjoy this book. I think I gave it, maybe 3 stars. I did enjoy this book. I just felt that it has a hard time where, you know, a character that just lies a bunch, and that is super relatable. And in general, I felt that the main character in this book was really relatable, the way that you kind of are trying on different identities and different hobbies, and, you know, am I going to be defined by, like, my love of board games? Am I going to be defined by my love of music? You know, all of these different things. And what kind of persona you choose to show the world and your friends and your crush, for example. But with characters who kind of lie and then get stuck in that cycle of lies that kind of rolls on and on and on, sometimes I have a really hard time with that. And I've had a few books this year where that's kind of been the case. So I think that Super Fake Love Song was just that kind of all wrapped up into each other. And I don't think it was like cringe-worthy. I think it was relatable, you know, about the lies and like the lies you have to tell to maintain those lies. But that was kind of the only thing that I could really think of for this category. And then the next category, and this is actually the final category in the original tag, which is lipstick, and it's your favorite kiss. So the lipstick I have is the ColourPop Lippy Sticks in Frenchie. This is one of my favorite warm red colors in general. So let me just apply that quickly, and let's talk out my favorite kiss. So the ColourPop Lippy Sticks are one of my favorite, kind of underrated formulas, I feel like. I first purchased them when it was their only formula of lippy sticks. And the color pigmentation, as you can tell, is beautiful. This was kind of just one swipe with a few touch-ups. After a while, I do feel like they stain your lips, especially these brighter ones. And I also never get the feeling that especially if you layer them, that they will wear off super quickly. With bright colors, it's easier to wear off, especially when you're eating. But I just love this formula so much, and it's easy to kind of like take in your bag. But the book I want to talk about is Empire of Sand, and I can't find my copy of it because I read it in a physical ARC, but I remember how many tabs there were because the writing is so beautiful. And it has one of my favorite romances ever. So the romance is just so beautifully done. And there are so many passages that I like highlighted and marked that were just vow level material. And that's kind of how I talk about it or term it, so vow level material. Like material I would want to hear in a vow. It was just beautiful and it was so emotional. And so I don't know if it was like it has my favorite kiss in it, but it certainly has my favorite romance kind of relationship. So I feel like there must have been some really good kisses in it, and that's why I put it in. And then actually, I have 3 categories I wanted to add, which weren't in the original tag. So the first one is I wanted to add bronzer, or like contour, for example. And so I'm using the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and I would show it to you a little bit better, but I dropped it and I broke it. So it just is like in literal pieces right now to be using. And it's also like a super soft product in general. So this whole thing was just so sad when I dropped it. I haven't tried to put it together, but I guess I could try. But the last time that I tried to put together a makeup product that broke, I had a really bad experience with it and didn't actually go back together in the way I wanted it to. But I'm using bronzer as kind of a quick contour thing, so I'm just gonna do that quickly. And so the prompt I wanted to do for this one was one that I made up, obviously, because this was not in the original tag. So if you want to do this tag as well with my added things, just let me know, because I think it would be really cool to find out other people's categories for these. So for bronzer, I did a book with major shade, or like a book that you think is kind of shady, or that you're gonna throw like shade for. So I don't want to go too much into detail about this because I'm planning to do a book, most disappointing books of 2020, and this will definitely be on there. But for me, it's A Deadly Education. I read the whole thing. I read it after all of the people were coming out about how racist there were, like racism incidents, and how kind of there were some sort of token marginalization issues as well. And it's a biracial, there is a bunch of things. I'm not gonna talk about it till my like disappointing book video, but that's the one that I have the most shade to. It is my lowest rated book I've read in so long, and it's my lowest rated book of this year. Like, it's a mess. And it's a mess for a variety of different reasons, which, as I said, I'll talk about in the other video, because I don't want to have to edit like 20 minutes of ranting out of this video. So I am super excited to film that video, and I made the list of disappointing books, and I'm worried that I'm going to get a lot of heat for the list, but you know, we'll just see. And then the other category that they also didn't have was highlighter, and if you've seen any of my makeup tutorial or any of my book looks, you will know that I need highlighter all the time. I'm a huge blush and highlighter person, so I just need it, and I just think it's a crime that it was not included in this original tag. So I'm using the Lorac colors. What is this? Lorac? It's the shade Daylight, but I think it's actually called Lorac Colorsaurus highlighter thing. So I'm just using that with a fan brush because I want kind of a blinding highlight, but I want it to be very diffused. My lighting isn't the best really because I'm using natural lighting, so I don't know if you can see the different effect that it's giving me. So hopefully you can. But I love highlighter. I'm so happy to kind of just load it on with a glowy blush. It is so good. And so for me, the prompt I decided to do for this one was a book as the highlight of your year. So I'm not at the point where I can say what's my favorite book of the year or anything, because I haven't like thought too much about that. But this is just a book that made the highlight of your year. And so for me, the book I chose, I don't know if you might have heard about a book called These Violent Delights, you know, a book that I keep hyping up all the time. I did like 12 hand lettering pieces for, and I did a variety of, I did a book look every week for this book before it released. So These Violent Delights, what is there to say about it? I freaking love this book. I have loved it since I read the ARC. I loved it since I heard about the book. Chloe is a fantastic, just such a nice human being. I remember sending Chloe works in progress of my hand lettering, and I was like, I don't know how it's going. And Chloe was just really nice to me, and I've done I did a guest post and an interview with Chloe, and the guest post was about classic YA or YA novels as classic dishes from Shanghai. So it has the recipes in it, and it is so mouth-wateringly beautiful. And an interview also with Chloe. I love this book. I wasn't a huge fan of Romeo and Juliet kind of growing up, but now this book is kind of my canon Romeo and Juliet book, and I will accept no other version of it. And the final category that was not included in this tag was glitter. I don't wear glitter on a daily basis. I just want to throw that out there. But I do like to use it, and I wanted to do like a fun, warm glam look for this one. So I'm going to use glitter, and I had to decide what I wanted the prompt to be for this one. And so I decided to do prettiest book cover, which in hindsight seems a lot like the book with favorite colors on the cover. But I reserve the right to do prettiest book because this book actually doesn't have like my favorite colors on it. Just because I don't really wear a lot of like cool toned things in general, and so this book cover has a navy blue, and I just don't really wear navy blue that often. So I'm just dabbing this glitter onto the lid and then blending it out with my finger. This is the Revlon Photo Ready. Well, let me So this product, I'm just waiting for it to dry because it takes a little bit of time to dry. This product is the Revlon Photo Ready Eye Art, and it actually comes with like a metallic cream shadow on one side and a glitter brush kind of side on the other side. And what I love is that once you put it on, it stays so well. You just have to let it dry essentially. And so that's kind of why I'm, stopping my movement in such a strange way. Once you dry, it'll feel less tacky and less cold on the eye. But it's just a really beautiful formula, and especially if you want to do like a winged glittery liner, it's perfect for that. I've done that a few times and it's really fantastic. And so, without further ado, the book I chose for this is Court of Miracles. This, first off, I'm a sucker for gold foil. It's even so hard to get a good way to show you this because it's so beautifully gold, but I'm a sucker for gold foil. And besides the gold foil, none of these colors I would categorize as my favorite book colors. I also don't wear white very often or blue, so that's why I kind of wanted to make this a different category. But it is stunning. Like, look at that. And also, it has beautiful end papers, And look at that. Yeah, so I'm a sucker for gold foil. Like, give me anything in gold foil and you got it. I had so many different books that I could choose from that had gold foil on it, but I wanted to choose that because the cover is just so beautiful. And also, I really loved Court of Miracles. Court of Miracles is kind of a retelling of The Jungle Book meets Les Mis. So both of those different things. And it is fantastic. Kind of like this upper, lower kind of illustration. Just this beautiful kind of elitist, decorative, gilded kind of world on top that is very much rooted by this world of corruption and betrayal and just really kind of some bad things. And this side of dichotomy was just gorgeous to see, and it has that kind of Les Mis atmosphere with the different characters. The Les Mis kind of characters and the same kind of feeling to it, but also very much kind of a setting that is reminiscent of The Jungle Book. I say this having not read The Jungle Book. This is literally just what people were telling me and what the author and I were kind of discussing, because we did an interview for this book because I loved it so much. So that brings me to the end of this makeup book tag, or books as makeup kind of tag. I hope you had a really fun time watching, and I hope that you check out some of the books that I mentioned. There'll be links down below for the books and the makeup products I was using if I could find a valid link. I'm not sure if everything is still available because I bought it so long ago that I don't know if it's still available. Well, I'll put links down below, and please definitely let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts are about these books, and if you have any of the answers to the questions that you'd like to share. So any of the variety of categories and prompts. So I hope you have a great day and stay safe, wear a mask, and keep reading. Bye!